Welcome to Simply Verified Beef, the podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Bree Patterson from the west coast of BC, and
I'm Amy Higgins and the VBP Coordinator on the alternative coast in New Brunswick.
So we thought we'd do a little holiday special segment here. You would have probably enjoyed our recent podcasts that have popped out in the previous months, but we wanted to do kind of a little year-end review. So maybe we should jump into how we've both seen these last, I think, 6 months or so of podcasting and what our thoughts are on podcasting. So Amy, how has being a podcast host been for you?
So when I think about the podcasts that I listen to and people, they're varying levels. Like I listen to a lot of different ones that are more like interview based, ones that are just one person monologuing. And so I didn't really know what it was going to be like, but again, with COVID and all things pandemic related and adjusting to technologies and things, I think we did okay. And I think that it seemed so out of reach to do because like in my brain, I think I thought you did need a studio or you needed some really sweet sound gear and you needed your guest to be in front of you. So it just seemed, out of reach of something that like a normal human being could do, the baseline of technology. So that was my thoughts. I think, and again, if anybody's thinking about doing it, it's not that hard.
I have to echo that because I listen to lots of podcasts too. And like you, I listen to ones that are conversational, like interview style, ones that are monologue style, ones that are just very casual, and they've all got different sound qualities too. So there's some that I listen to and it's like you said, listening to a CBC radio type interview where it's crystal clear, beautifully done. They've got the fancy headphones on, the fancy mics. And there's other ones where the background noise is a bit much and it's not as enjoyable, but the message in the podcast is interesting or important to me. So I'm happy to listen to it. And like you said, it's really not that hard. Like when I look at my podcasting setup, it costs me under $100 and it seems to be coming across quite clearly. People have not complained about audio issues with us, knock on wood. Much more simple than I think I believed it was, because like you, I had the idea that like if it's audio type stuff or podcasting type stuff, it's going to be big headphones, soundproof studio, fancy microphones, fancy widgety things where they make the magic and they add funny noises and backgrounds. And in all honesty, it's as simple as utilizing Zoom or Teams and a decent microphone.
Yeah, and I must say that Mike at Podcast Atlantic, shout out to Mike Boyd, had gotten us set up. And when we were talking about different ways to bring guests in and stuff, and so he had just said, like, do you guys use Zoom? And I was like, every day Zoom happens.
I'm the Zoom tech at my office now because I just Zoom so much.
Yeah, and the world has gotten, especially in our industry, people have gotten used to doing that. It's not like you do need to test the tech and stuff because everybody's already familiar with it. So that was really positive because we just do a little bit of post-production on that particular audio only file and life is good. Again, I thought it was going to be harder than what it actually was. I don't want to be giving away any trade secrets, but I don't think I've got any trade secrets.
I think the only trade secret is make sure you sign up with VBP Plus and then you're good. And then we can sprinkle all the podcast knowledge. It's all part VBP Plus program.
Yeah. There'll be tests on this later.
Yeah, better put that caveat so the national team, when they listen to this, aren't like, whoa, our East Coast and West Coast reps are going rogue.
Yeah, we're just joking, by the way, just joking.
We're just joking.
On the other side, on the flip side, when we talk about the content and sort of the brainchild of the podcast was last winter, the VBP national team put out some webinars. They were really well received. They were recorded for consumption after the fact. The feedback on that was really good. So as we were thinking about and everybody seemed to be getting, I don't know, webinared out, if we can use webinared as a verb, because I think we can.
We can now.
we can.
Thanks, COVID.
So we're just chatting about, and like I had thought about podcasts, and we talked about a knowledge tech transfer survey that had gone out, and podcast listening was a tool used in some of in that beef knowledge tech transfer side. Thought no time like the present to try and get that on. So Bree, do you want to go over maybe how we threw out the ideas for what the podcasts were?
You
The
betcha.
topics?
Yeah. And I agree, just to add on to like working for BC Cattlemen's, we've had BC Cattlemen's members over the years, and we've had webinars. They've asked us to make it into podcasts. And we're like, ooh, we don't have that technology, but now we do. So it's pretty cool to be able to, if that's something that BC producers want, that's something BC Cattlemen's could do in the future. But to go back to how we got some rumination on our podcast topics, both me and Amy are past Cattlemen's Young Leaders. So we kind of had different conversations over the years and had different presentations over the years about various beef related things. And so we're like, what are some of the topics that have worked really well with the webinars? That shout out to Melissa, the Alberta VP rep, who helped organize the webinars last wintertime. And so we looked at those that Melissa had made. We looked at the stuff that we attended with Cattlemen's Young Leaders or CYL. We'd looked at different other topics that had been presented in our own provinces at different ways and on different platforms, if that was in-person meetings or whatnot. And we kind of made a list that fell underneath the 4 pillars of VBP as well. So on-farm food safety, biosecurity, environmental stewardship, and animal care. And shout out to all the new lovely subsections that we have on our website at www.verifiedbeef.ca. The manual and the whole training program is getting revamped, so we'll actually be able to cherry pick even more and even deeper in our future topics. But most of our topics fall underneath the VBP Plus umbrella. Some of them offshoot a bit as well, as you'll see as they sprinkle out. It's kind of beef production focused in Canada, with VBP Plus topics being the number one, but other topics come out of it too.
So our topics, I guess, if we're doing a little bit of a recap, we had the first episode was simply the audit.
Oh, yes, that was a good one.
Bree, do you want to just do a 30-second Cole's notes on what that one is?
Yeah, you betcha. We had an auditor and a producer, and I think yourself, you were the interviewer. So it was kind of a very VP focused.
Oh, and we had Jacqueline as a coordinator that wasn't an interviewer. Yes.
Thank you. Yes. I was like, I listen to them every single month. And I'm part
that
of
was a long time ago. That was a long
and
time.
I'm part of at least half of them. But yeah, that's right. So we had a VP coordinator, a VP producer, and a VP auditor all kind of roundtable what the audit meant and how to explain it to the producer in the off chance that the word audit is kind of scary, and how they can get over that fear or that hump of worrying about the word audit. So it was a great little roundtable with that one. And I do find that most of ours are kind of roundtable discussions, as you'll hear as we kind of go through the different topics. But yeah, that's kind of the audit one.
Episode 2 was simply the processing. There were wildfires maybe happening in British Columbia at that point.
Yes, there sure was.
There sure was. What a year. What a year.
We just like to burn and flood and have COVID in British Columbia.
So that one was, again, we had some audio issues because Bree was dealing with internet connectivity because there was a pretty good overhanging of smoke over her place. We did have a rancher feedlot operator from BC, and we had Ron Stevenson that works with the Metzger veterinarian group out of Ontario, and they do some work now in Alberta. The other one there, we had another VBP coordinator.
Yes, we had Erica, our Saskatchewan coordinator, who is also a producer. Yeah, a VBP cow-calf producer and a previous British Columbian before she moved to Saskatchewan.
So that one was, in a nutshell, just talking about processing. So not processing to go into beef, because I made that error. I had somebody was like, that wasn't about beef processing at all. And I'm like, right.
The live cattle.
The live calf processing, like to vaccinate and to do live animal health processing. Yeah. But we've only got so many words to put in titles, so sorry for any confusion. I
know these people are like excited to learn about cuts of meat or something like that, or the supply chain when it makes its way to big plants like Cargill, and instead we're like, oh, don't forget to use this vaccine. Sorry, listeners. Sorry,
listeners. So we are hoping that we'll be able to have that one in 2022. And I don't know if I call it something different, but we're still working on what the working titles are. Anyhow, so that was episode 2. And so that is up. You can listen to it at any point. And then we did put out a bonus episode.
Yes.
That was a follow-up from Simply the Processing, because after we had stopped and ended the podcast, as producers, farmers, ranchers, industry people sometimes do, we stayed around and chatted for a little bit after we officially wrapped. And so I think I had the idea, because I always get a kick out of hearing about people's wrecks. Like, it just makes you feel better about your own life when some other folks have stories that they're worse off. And I don't know if that makes me a bad person or not, but anyways.
I think it makes you a human being, and I think it helps remind you that, like, sometimes everyone is going through their pile of manure, and everyone's pile of manure can just be stinky.
Yes. So we did do a little bit of a bonus episode because we were still recording, and I had captured this sort of funny conversation about just things that happen that you may not want to happen on a processing or procedure day, and I think we did talk about some like high level, some of the best stuff that happens too. But I think I initially introduced it as what are some wrecks, because I'd like to laugh. But
I do remember that. That was actually a really fun one to do, even with the crappy connectivity issues.
Yes.
Our October one.
Simply the marketing. So that was episode 3. That was one I did on my own. So Bree, you weren't there, but Melissa, the VBP coordinator in Alberta, and Jason Daynard from Team Auction Services. We all had a little chat between the 3 of us on an upcoming VBP Plus specific sale that Team was doing.
Right.
And Jason's been a supporter, and the Team Auction Services has been a supporter of being able to identify which of the calf lots do come from VBP Plus sourced ranches and farms. So that was really good. And I think it had lots, especially as in Eastern Canada here, we're getting into Cargill, Guelph, getting some more of those checks out. I was just talking to a producer the other day from Nova Scotia who's like, I got my check from Cargill for 2 calves that made their way through the chain. So again, it's stuff like that I think will, in Eastern Canada, because the ball was already well rolling in coming out of that High River plant. And in BC, you guys you've got a new plant that's up and going there too.
Yes.
And I don't want to hesitate, because I know you guys have been through a few natural disasters. So
yes, it's the brand is still there, and there's some other opportunities and avenues happening with it. It was put on hold for a bit because of the wildfires, and the wildfires were affecting it directly in its neighborhood. So yes, there was another avenue for a bit. It just had been put on hold during the summertime, and was going to be revisited as things progressed, basically. Yes. And then we just keep getting hit with more and more natural disasters, because why not? Go back to your team's point.
Yep.
It crossed my mind that Melissa in Alberta does a phenomenal job creating a email chain, or I guess an e-news type setup, where producers who have VP calves can reach out to her or reach out to their provincial coordinator, and their provincial coordinator will hook them up with Melissa, and she blasts this e-news out to different feedlots, cattle buyers, and other cow-calf guys, and whoever actually just wants to sign up for this particular e-news. And then that way people are aware that, oh, Amy's calves are coming through on December 15th, and they are all VP calves, and let's try and find them a VP feedlot, and that VP feedlot can go into Cargill, and then everyone wins with the extra incentive.
Yeah, that's true. She does a very good job. I don't know how she does it.
Totally. I totally look at it. I subscribe. I'm like, oh, cool. This producer and whatnot is in here, right? So
episode 4 was simply the tough decision. So this was one that we talked about. We talked about doing, and we talked about not doing, because it was about like humane euthanasia and some of the topics that we don't really talk about on a regular basis. So we invited Kendra Keels from Veal Farmers of Ontario, and Kendra does a fantastic job just communicating all of the things that, like, if they happen, they happen, but she's got a very good outlook and such a respect for these calves that you really hear the care in her voice, which is I think an important piece to this. So she broaches it from the calf side of things, like from the dairy calves that are coming into either the veal or the beef chain. But I mean, the message is the same for any animal that needs to be euthanized. So
totally. I really enjoyed listening to that one. Like you said, she did a really good job of coming at it from a very ethical and compassionate lens. And yet, like you said, you could hear that she's concerned about those calves. She's not just like, heck yes, this is something we got to do. Like, obviously it's something that's not enjoyable for anyone, but it's part of ranching and farming.
Yeah. And you got to do it in the right way. So
yeah,
that was all good. And episode 5, which just recently went out, was simply the labels. So we were able to link up, and this is just a chat again, one-on-one with myself and Bruce Koslinski from Zoetis.
Nice.
Just talking about label directions. And
even when I haven't been the interviewer, it's always so awesome to listen. And I always pick up other little nuggets of gold, regardless if I'm interviewing the person or listening later on. And there's probably times where I actually pick up more nuggets of gold when I go and listen to them, even the ones I interviewed people with. Because then I'm like, oh, because in the heat of the moment when you're trying to keep the conversation going, you've got your list of questions to ask, you're trying to be cognizant of timeline. You're like, that's cool information. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, whoever is joined. I got to go to the next question or try to loop them back together. And then when you listen to them later, you're like, oh, yes, that was so cool. And it's so, I highly recommend people re-listen to these podcasts. And they're only about 20, 30 minutes.
Yep.
We're very kind and gentle to your ears. Some of the podcasts I listen to can be up to like 2 hours long, which is great for commutes and hikes and whatnot. But I think it's nice to have little snippets of 20 to 30 minutes, even 40-minute ones, because that's a little bit more digestible depending on what activities you're doing with said podcast.
Yeah. And especially since this is sort of a one topic learn, and that was the 5th one that we've got out. I do know that I'm prepping number 6, which is an exciting one. Because Bree and I met, as she mentioned, in the Cattlemen's Young Leaders program. Mm-hmm. So Bree, do you want to give a little preview to what episode 6 will be in January, 3rd week of January?
Actually, like perfect timing for the Cattlemen's Young Leaders program, because it's going to come out in January. And that's when Cattlemen's Young Leaders has the opening of their applications, which runs till March 31st, I think, or April 1st, somewhere in there. It's about a 3-month window. You can have time to apply. But the upcoming one in January will be about mentorship. And so I've interviewed my mentor from Cattlemen's Young Leaders and an active Cattlemen's Young Leader at the time, and the Cattlemen's Young Leader representative or coordinator. Won't drop any names because it's like the coolest people out there. Well, actually, I feel like everyone we've interviewed is the coolest people out there, but these are some cool cats, cool cows, cool calves, whatever you want to call it. And I think it'll be really fun to listen to that podcast at such a timely moment when that application opens up, because I think, and I won't speak to it because I think as soon as I say things have changed with COVID, they shift again. But I think they're going to see a change in the program, that they've had to pivot based on world events, going back to some other opportunities in the future that were more similar to what it used to be like, which is a lot of in-person stuff. So again, can't speak to it totally, because we know that every time we say, oh, something's changing, COVID gives us a new variable and life changes. And because I'm not the coordinator for the program, I don't want to speak too much to it. But from my understanding, from a high level, we're going to maybe hopefully see, knock on wood, fingers crossed, we have a few more in-person and less Zoom type things. So maybe in 2022, Amy, we'll get to interview our people face-to-face.
No, get out.
We might even get to interview each other. Oh my gosh, Amy, we might be able to be in the same spot doing an interview together.
In the same room. I don't think that's happened. I don't know when the last time that has happened.
Like 2 years?
Yeah, I guess it would have been CBIC
2019.
Yeah, that would have been it. And I just looked at the demographics, because sometimes we get good data coming back from who's listening to the podcast, and it seems like a high proportion of our listenership is in the age range that would be eligible for Cattlemen's Young Leaders, which is I think 18 to 35.
Correct. Yes,
because they expanded Young Cattlemen's Council to 40-year-olds. Wow.
Correct.
So that is January's episode, and then should be able to expect them to continue to roll out on a monthly basis.
Totally, and it's kind of fun. It's like a little thing you get to look forward to. You could, if you haven't listened to them yet, you could save them all up and hammer them out in a day or so, or you can enjoy them sprinkled throughout. That's what I enjoy. I always look for, I'm like, it's the 3rd Wednesday of every month. Let's listen to what's going on and get educated.
I guess another shout out we sort of thanked Mike at Podcast Atlantic for helping us get set up. And you'll see in our show notes every week, we give those thanks. So if you do need to get a hold of Mike, and he does a very good job of training people through Zoom. He's gotten to be an expert at that. So wherever you are in the country, if you need help with setting up how to do it and how to edit and all that sort of stuff, he's a pretty good resource. And Sydney Curley was my summer student in 2021. And she actually we had a few of these pre-recorded, and she was able to do a little bit of the editing on it so that it wasn't quite so cumbersome for me to get these things things out, or the third Tuesday night of the month for me to get those out. So that was much appreciated. And Sydney was keen and got some of those edited out, and that's great.
She did a great job getting us in the right direction.
Yes, and thanks to all of the other provincial coordinators for sharing, and different industry coordinators for sharing things. I do know that if you are looking for another podcast to fill up some time, if you're going on a drive of any sizable this holiday season, Beef Research has Cows on the Planet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a good one to listen to. They've got some really interesting content, some really nice guests on there that they've been able to track down. So that's been cool. In terms of funding partners, their season 1 has been sponsored by Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island provincial CAP programs, so the Canadian Agricultural Partnership. So that's been a big help, because all of this stuff takes a little bit of, again, we talked earlier, it's not super high tech to set up, but there is a lot of time involved in just doing the editing, doing the things, and doing the stuff afterwards to get it all set.
Yeah, we got to thank those East Coasters for helping us get off in a way into the wild world of podcasting.
Yeah, do you have any shout outs that we forgot?
I think we've did some great job shouting out to all those who participated. We thank you all for being part of our podcast, if that was either as an interviewer, as a fellow coordinator, giving us topic ideas and helping steer us in the direction, or just promoting it. Like, there's been so much uptake from different provincial and national cattle groups promoting this little podcast. It's pretty cool. So I think we've done a good job, Amy, and I think we need to pat ourselves on the back for being podcasters for the first time ever, and been a fun adventure this past 6 or so months of learning to be a podcast host with you.
We did it. I guess I'd like to thank you, Bree, for hanging out with me this last little while. And
yeah, no, I appreciate Amy, and have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope 2022 brings everyone all kinds of lovely things, and we can say goodbye to droughts and wildfires and floods and COVID, and we can see each other face to face and go back to some really fun in-person beef industry interactions.
I think my wish for 2022 is a year without natural disasters.
Fingers crossed, toes crossed.
And happy holidays.